With the recent rumours of Hifi-Rush becoming multi-platform, the identity of the Xbox we once knew seems to be fading. Nearly everything Microsoft has done with the Xbox brand since its fall from grace at the start of the Xbox One generation has been questionable at best for the Xbox brand, with the Game Pass being the only exception. What does owning Activision and Bethesda bring if the games they make under you eventually come to competing platforms that you stand to gain nothing from except revenue? Maybe Xbox sees this as an opportunity to gain new fans off of the PlayStation platform, and that some might migrate over to Game Pass, but just like Sony is finding out with porting their games to PC, people will just wait and not even consider your platform because of the potential of the games coming to a platform they already own. Today I want to discuss Xbox's decisions over the last couple of years and what bringing their games to PlayStation really means for the Xbox's brand. I want to start this off with something simple. Xbox bringing Hifi-Rush or Sea of Thieves to other platforms would not be their first time doing so, with the games like Ori coming to Switch years prior. But what makes this situation different from that is that Microsoft doesn't own the studio that made Ori but just owns the IP, which is nothing like Hifi-Rush or Sea of Thieves, where they own both the IP and the studio. Why Microsoft feels the need to port their own studio exclusives to other platforms not named PC is questionable at best in my opinion, especially if they want to continue being a console manufacturer. Creating a brand with great exclusive games that have the potential to become household IPs is a proven and still proven way of becoming successful in the console space. I understand that Xbox is behind and that they have to try and gain some ground one way or another, but I already think they have what they're looking for, and that's Game Pass. Maybe I'm wrong and time will tell me that the decisions they're making are the right ones, but all I'm getting from this is that Microsoft doesn't see a future where they continue making consoles. This all goes back to the reveal and start of Xbox's plan after the horrific launch of the Xbox One, where their survival was determined based on what they did next, and lucky for them, Game Pass was a damn good next step. If you would have asked me before this console generation started, does Xbox have a chance? I would have said yes, and a good one. Game Pass in theory should create an ecosystem solely based on the low price and hundreds of games, but as we see today, that theory isn't working. Game Pass has almost completely stagnated around the number of 25 to 30 million monthly subscribers, even after buying Bethesda, who was said to greatly boost its numbers. You would think that stagnation of something always marked as the best deal in gaming in a time where inflation is on the rise would be impossible, but that's the truth. Game Pass has, without Call of Duty's inclusion, already reached its maximum audience, and that should be concerning to anyone wanting Xbox to be around in 10 years. I think Game Pass's stagnation is the obvious reason for Microsoft's want to branch out of its own console, because at the end of the day, Game Pass's success is key to their future. Subscription services tend to allow for the most broad appeal, and being able to have that subscription service everywhere is incredibly beneficial to the service. I think people need to understand that Microsoft want Xbox to be financially beneficial to them, and not putting Game Pass and even their games on other platforms stops them from being that. Realistically, Xbox could continue with Xbox exclusives that only come to Xbox and PC, with the same being said about Game Pass, but doing so would leave so much money on the table, especially when both of the other platforms they stand to benefit from are so both incredibly successful. Microsoft, along with Xbox, rightfully found out that when offering a service to near unlimited games for a small price, the outcome is always the cost of the people actually buying those games. Supporting the games you make internally to platforms that don't have Game Pass allows for the recouping of that lost revenue, and I think that's Xbox's whole point here. Why not put your games on other platforms when the only two outcomes would then be them either buying the game at full price or considering buying Game Pass for a fraction of that price? Moreover, their stumbling in the console market is definitely a cause for this new strategy. I think it's pretty obvious when looking at the sales charts for Nintendo, PlayStation and Xbox that one is nowhere near where they should be, and that's a problem, especially for Xbox. How do you expect a subscription service on a platform slowly growing to become quickly profitable? Because in no world is that happening. Again, this is a reason for their want to depart from the normal console strategy. Why, when you have a service that is losing billions for just operating the way it's intended to, would you not look at other platforms, especially if those other platforms are outselling yours 3-1? I understand that console sales aren't everything, but I definitely think they paint a picture, because if Game Pass was self-sufficient and Xbox was outselling the PlayStation, Microsoft wouldn't even entertain what they currently are. At the end of the day, the console market leader is allowed to not even consider doing what Microsoft is, and in a world where PlayStation is in the exact place that Xbox is in, I can't say with certainty that they won't be considering the same due to PlayStation's role within Sony. I understand that I've talked about Game Pass a lot in this video, but I think that's telling on where Microsoft is currently right now. Xbox's future, no matter what you think, is determined by the success of Game Pass in the cloud. Maybe I'm wrong and Microsoft has an ace up their sleeve for the survival of Xbox, but with them seemingly wanting to dip their feet in the multi-platform pool, that doesn't seem likely. Let's just be truthful about what this is, a last resort to find something worth clinging to in gaming. With the massive acquisitions Microsoft has made over the last 10 years, buying companies like Activision and Bethesda and Mojang, what do they stand to gain from continuing to lose when it comes to console sales, but more hate and more criticism thrown towards them? Game Pass is their light, and if that light fades, so does the Xbox brand in my opinion. Again, this is all speculation at this point, but truly ask yourselves, if Game Pass fails to become massively profitable in the next 5 years, does the Xbox brand not go with it? Because I feel that in my Microsoft's mind, it does. I know that even making a video on this topic is risky when it comes to the response of the people who might find this, but no matter what you say or think of me, I truly don't want Xbox to go under. Competition is incredibly important when it comes to consumer happiness, and I want nothing more for PlayStation and Nintendo to both be offering the best for the least amount. I truly believe anyone reveling in the idea of Xbox becoming another publisher is blinded by their own bias. A world without Xbox means a world where PlayStation and Nintendo have no competition in their respective markets, making decisions that would have been hard to do with Xbox around an almost everyday occurrence. Take for instance PlayStation Plus's drastic change to include a tier that offers games, which without Xbox and Gamepass would never have happened. But something that would have happened without Xbox is the price hike that happened not too long ago, except there wouldn't have been no games to lighten that blow. In conclusion, the Xbox brand as we knew it is fading, and them even planning out a third-party strategy is proof of that. At the point of recording, there has been no official announcement to whether or not Hifi-Rush or Sea Thieves are coming to either PlayStation or Switch, which means backlash to the idea of this could change their strategy entirely, and I hope that it does. Bringing your exclusive games to platforms you should be competing against is a one-way trip to stopping that competition entirely, which while fattening Microsoft's pockets would only hurt consumers in the long run. I understand that having the ability to play all games everywhere is pro-consumer, but the sad reality of that is without these exclusives, the boxes associated with them become almost meaningless, which is why PlayStation fights so hard for games like Final Fantasy to be exclusive to them. At the end of the day, IPs and games only available on a certain platform is a big reason in why people buy these platforms, and if they disappeared tomorrow, why would everyone not just save their money and buy a PC that could play everything?